Welcome everyone from wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are and when you got the notification of this video. We welcome you. We're happy to have you again. And today we want to talk about a topic that we've been writing on for quite some time. I have written a little on this topic, and you must have seen other videos, short clips on this topic as well, where I talked about the importance of surname, and I tried as much as possible to have people from different walks of life, from different countries, from Asia, from I think I got a lady also from Australia who had talked a little about this. But I wouldn't do this without my brother here. We we will always come and conclude every topic. I would do all the small videos, but at last we'll always come, sit together, and talk about it in a broader term. So today we'll be talking about the importance of surname. Why should we keep our surnames? Why should we even have a surname? I should just keep one name, right? And live my life. Why do I need a surname? And then if I should have a surname, why should it be the name that has existed in the family? What sense does it make? Why is it important? Is it really important? So we're going to be, talking about this. And as usual, we're not going to be speaking so much of English. We're not going to be reading a lot from lots of books. We're just going to be talking naturally. So we're open to whatever suggestions that you have. From our last video, we got a lot of reviews and people were asking when is the next edition coming. So we're open to those kind of suggestions. Ask your questions, and if you disagree to whatever we're saying, it's okay. We're open to research, to go back, study, and also come in with further clarifications on whatever topic we're talking about. I'm David, Mr. Green, as everyone knows. And my friend is here. Let's hear from him.
Yeah, thanks, David, for having me again. And my name is Masimba, and it's great, interesting subject. I didn't think it was worth discussing, but after thoughts to say, oh, maybe we need to talk. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to speak with someone. He's Nigerian.
Okay.
And he had a different perspective in the whole thing.
Okay.
And he said he doesn't think his kids should bear his family name.
All right.
He thinks his kids should bear his name.
Okay.
And so I asked him, if you want your child to bear your name, and your son grows up and says, I want my kids, your son is talking now, to bear my name.
Yeah.
What happens to your name? Because your son decides to bear his name, and then your name is gone.
Yeah.
And then he said, when he gets to that stage, he's going to sort it out. I said,
no. I think the idea of having surnames and or some people say second name, some people say father's name. I think it's different. Different cultures use different systems, right?
Yeah.
I think it's. I'm not really sure. I don't want to state things that are not really factual, but some will take the mother's name actually, and some will take the father's name. Some will take the grandfather's name. Some will take a clan's name. But it has to come from an understanding of what a name should mean for you as an individual. Obviously, we bring a bit of biblical context to our discussion, obviously. And when the issue of the name is mentioned in the Bible, it says a good name is more valuable than rubies.
Yeah.
And I think people hold their surnames in such pride because of what it represents. So the question that I would have with my brother is, what's the motivation of wanting to change it in the first place? Because if some people are a bit, they're a bit proud. Maybe it's pride that's pushing it. They want their name to be go through the pages of history. So it's an aspect of really understanding what the motivation is.
Yeah.
But for me, I think I'm comfortable keeping my family name. It's not a very old name, actually. It started with my great-grandfather. I don't know what the motivation was for him to start from there. But people have different motivations. I hold it because I identify with the people that I identify with. But we can look at both sides and see the merits and of taking both sides. Say, okay, I want to start with my name. What are the reasons why someone would choose that? And why would you want to do that? Is it because he's thinking about himself, or is thinking about a self-centered viewpoint, or there's something that he wants to achieve?
Yeah.
That's maybe what the discussion can be. Where would he want to do that?
Why would he want to do that?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it didn't make sense to me. But like you said, we need to find out why. What's the motive, you know? But then it didn't make sense to me because, like you said, your surname is not that old. Mine also. It's not so old. I would make a little more research on that. But it has kind of identified us in a way, because my surname, if you mention my surname in my state, everybody knows where it's coming from.
Okay.
You know, you mention my surname, everybody knows where it's coming from.
Yep.
So why would I want to change my surname? And then you get into a place and you mention the name, and someone is asking, where are you from? I met two guys in one of the articles I had published on Facebook.
Yeah.
I met two guys in Dubai.
Yeah.
And usually when I meet Africans, I feel very happy, you know.
Yeah.
We sit down, we had a few minutes to talk. I asked if they were hungry. Can we eat something? They said yes. So we went to a Nigerian restaurant. We sat and we were eating. I know one of them. He's from Rivers, from my state, and from my village.
Yeah.
So I know him. And but I wasn't sure his name. I wasn't sure the community in my village, but I knew that face.
Okay.
And so when we got talking, I asked him, what's your village again? I know you're from my state.
Yeah,
what's your? Then he called his surname Wala.
Okay.
Once he said Wala, I said, "Oh, Wala."
You know,
we know Wala. I know Wala from Gui. I know Wala from Olakwo.
Yeah.
I know Wala from. Once I said Olakwo, he stopped me and said, "Yeah, he's Wala from Olakwo."
Okay.
You see, I was able to identify it.
Yeah.
You know, and then I know an uncle of his.
Yeah.
So I mentioned this man. I know this man. Do you know him? He said, yes, he knows this man. He's late now. He used to be a driver, you know, back then. But it helped me identify him. The next guy, who also said he was from my state.
All right.
What's your name? My name is Michael. Michael, what's your surname? Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah, that's a very Anglo-Saxon.
Your name is Michael Sunday.
Okay.
How do I even identify you?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know where you're from, and there's no way to identify you. So if that was going to be a job opportunity, and there are sentiments attached to it, and I needed someone I could identify, and you're telling me your name is Michael Sunday, there is no way I can place you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an interesting perspective, because basically what you're saying is, when this issue of surnames was devised, it was a way of giving a person individuality, because if you're going to have Masimba and another Masimba and another Masimba, what distinguishes this Masimba from this Masimba?
Yeah.
So it's now bringing in the family names. Of course, it can be another can of worms when there's another Masimba in my family, and then people said put the second, the third, and whatever. But I think it was a system of bringing individuality, but at the same time maintaining a sense of connectiveness to where you're coming from.
To the roots.
So yeah, one person would feel okay to keep their name. Obviously, my surname is not really considered a great surname in where I come from. There are other surnames that are of the royal lineage that when people speak of them, they are really proud. So that's one reason why someone would keep that. It can be a tool to increasing your network. But you find that in my home country, there was a gang back in the late 90s. I won't mention the names because I don't want to create a stigma with that name. But basically, this gang there's very notorious robbers, 7 robbers who escaped a maximum security prison, and those names have been stigmatized. So on the flip side, you could understand a person in that situation wanting to distance himself from that particular name because it has negative connotations as well. So you say, okay, maybe I should start a new surname, okay, and start a new identity because I am also an individual. I do not identify with that, and so forth. And think about our presidents as well. We have people who have burn names of our presidents, whether they did things positively or negatively. It kind of like paints something on people. So those are the things that you look at. Maybe there's a positive ring to your name. There's a positive heritage to your name. You would be very proud to keep it. But if it's got a negative now, can you fault a person for wanting to change?
Not really. Not really. From that angle, I don't think I can fault a person for wanting to change a surname. You know, it's just like what's happening in Africa now, where Burkina Faso is saying, I don't want to be part of ECOWAS anymore. I want to distance myself from ECOWAS.
Yeah, because of the negative things that are happening.
I mean, what have they benefited from ECOWAS? You know, let's just get out, stay on our own, and see what's going to happen. So I wouldn't want to say it's wrong from that perspective. But then if you want to start a new identity, then you have to be someone who is ready to start a new identity. I mean, that's taking on a lot of responsibilities. It's not a joke.
Yep.
You know, it's not a joke because you're starting an identity. You're starting a surname that's going to go through generations. You know, so there should be something that should be remembered. There should be something you're actually doing. That's either you're good. The good thing with Africa, it's your royalty is no longer what it used to be. Right now, with your personality, you can bring royalty into the family. That's what's going on right now in my
that's an interesting perspective now, because we started off, you know, bringing the Bible into it and saying that a good name is like more valuable than rubies. The idea of a name is not the letters coming together to form the name when the text is talking about it. It's about the character of the individual. And then when the letters come together and people hear, oh, David, and then it's a good name because of the character of the person. But maybe there are other evil Davids out there. We don't know. But the point of the matter, what you're saying is you don't necessarily need to change the letters to identify you to break the cycle of negativity that may be associated with the name. Your surname. You can choose to change it. I mean, it's an individual's choice at the end of the day, but it's a question that what do you want to achieve? Okay, you want to break a cycle. You can do that by your deeds. And, you know, it was really funny, like someone who identify with the bad Matthew and the good Matthew. Those things can happen, you know. Or you can say, they are from the good side of the family. The cases like that, and they're from the bad side of the family, and those things do happen. But I think this system it sort of like helps to identify with a certain culture and a certain identity. Where I come from, this system was introduced by our colonizers. This issue of surnames and things like that. We had a different way of identification, which was the use of totems. So a certain clan will be identified with an animal. For example, my clan identifies with the baboon. So my great grandfather, of course, he started surname, and it's a very sort of like a fairly a small family in the context of world history. But because I identify with the baboon, everyone even with a different surname who identifies with the baboon, I sort of like view them as a brother or an uncle because of that. So there's that angle as well. We had our own system, okay? And this sort of like helped to bring order in a system, because when you now change your name, there is risk that you can cause sort of like a disorder. Because there's issue of marriage. Your kids can marry their cousins, because they have distanced themselves. So those are other aspects that you need to think about, like the relations, you're severing relations, but then and then you discover that maybe your son is marrying his sister, because you severed relations and they have no way of identifying that we are of the same blood. And there are certain risks, even health-wise, to marrying too close in relations. I know it's still a practice that's held in other cultures, where you can marry a cousin, but it's not really something that's even encouraged. Even in the Bible, it's encouraged to marry further away on relations as possible.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. So you see that the name thing is not really. I mean, we've said a whole lot of things right now. From what we have discussed, it's. Me a few hours ago would tell you don't play around with your surname. But right now
there are other aspects.
You see, exactly. Right now I've seen that you could actually decide to start a new identity. But then the example I gave before, where the young man says where I asked him, what happens if your son comes and says, I don't want to identify with your name, I want to start mine. So it becomes, and then he doesn't have an answer to it, So I think it's important that there's a motive to what you're doing. You could just decide to keep your name, but then the character is changed, and people could say, like my brother is saying here, the good side, and there used to be a bad person in this family. But there's also this good person.
He's brought in a white brush and is painted on top of the ugliness.
And that's
it. And you remember, there's also another scripture that says these men were righteous, but their righteousness cannot save their children. So you cannot be held on the sins of your father, and so forth. And allow me to double a bit in the Bible as well, because if you look. In Bible prophecy, our Savior was supposed to be born, and the name that's mentioned in the Old Testament is Emmanuel. But then the name that was given is actually Yeshua or Jesus, depending on what language you're looking at. They're slightly different names with slightly different meanings. Emmanuel means God with us, and Yeshua means God our salvation. But you see, it wasn't really about the letters coming together, which is the name of Jesus that's powerful. It's about what it represents,
the character,
what it represents. So you'll find that the system of surnames, it's a very beautiful system that brings order. Okay, because like what you say, there are risks that are involved.
A lot of risks.
When you change your name, there are certain risks health-wise, because it's not healthy to consummate with someone of close relations. It's been seen that the offspring might be compromised in terms of genetics. Okay. There are risks in actually emotional challenges in the family when you discover that you've married someone of close relations. That's just one example of many things, that you need to think about when you're thinking about changing your name. But at the same time, the things that worry us a lot is how it's really an intrinsic part of my identity. And maybe because of family clashes, you don't feel so proud to carry that identity, because you are not going along well with someone in the family, which is a sad state of affairs, but it shouldn't be like that. And I would caution to preserve the order, because the order was given for a reason. Through the Bible and through cultures. I told you about the totems. It's really a similar thing to surnames, really. It's about having an identity and understanding where you come from. And that grounds you. That sort of like grounds you to where you're coming from.
It makes you who you are. And it keeps reminding you that you come from somewhere.
You come from somewhere.
So before you change your name, you need to really think it through. Is it something you really want to do? I don't think it's something you should do, just like we have said. I've seen my cousins. I've seen my close cousins. I look at their names on Facebook. I just hope that's not what's happening on their certificates anyway, because I look at names on Facebook and I see that everybody's name has changed. It's difficult to identify anybody. You know, it's difficult to identify anybody. And I'm looking at you on Facebook. I'm seeing your name. You have a different surname right now, and it's confusing. And if this continues to happen, it will get to a time when, like he said, we will no longer be able to identify our brothers anymore. Because I see your name and your surname is not there. I don't know who you are. You know, and then someone is texting me, who is my brother that I'm supposed to be talking to, and I don't. Your name, at least, you'd make me look at it and say, "Oh, this is my brother. We have the same surname."
Yeah.
You know, so we need to be very careful before
there's the other angle of changing names for commercial benefit.
Yeah,
that's also something, because if you look at I can give an example of an old singer. People might not know. I don't know. Maybe some people will know him. There's a band called Queen, a British band. This is just one example. And his the name of the lead singer, it was Freddie Mercury, but that's not his birth name. That's not the name that he was born with. Actually, he changed both his first name and surname.
Why did he do that?
So I think it was for because it said it's got a nice ring to it. It said kind of an artistic ring to it. Freddie Mercury. And I think it's very common with artists. They tend to
and it worked for him.
And there's another vocalist. He used to sing, a gospel singer actually. Jonathan Pierce. That's not his surname. It's actually his second name, but he's using his second name as his surname. It's saying it's easy to remember. That's kind of the logic that people would use
for commercial purposes. Yeah, let's say commercial. Did they actually change the name officially, or it's? I mean,
look, we wouldn't know,
like a stage name.
Yeah, we wouldn't know. Like I wouldn't know, but I watched the biography for Freddie Mercury,
and that's the name,
Bohemian Rhapsody. But it's sort of like insinuated that when he started using the name, he actually wanted to go through the legal process of changing it. I don't know if he did. I never researched on it. I think some people do eventually do that. We used to have also a football coach who used to coach the Zimbabwe national team. His name was actually, funny enough, Sunday as well. You mentioned another Sunday before. They changed their surname like later on. They played as footballers. They were using a different surname, and then when he became a coach, he went through and he said he's actually going back to his father's name. Funny enough, all this time they were using
commercial.
Yeah, he was called no, not a commercial name. I think I'm not sure what the true story is, but he was Sunday Marimo, and then they changed it to Sunday Chizambwa or something like that.
The real
surname. They're saying that's my father's name. I don't know what the history of their family was like there, but these are things that happen. But I mean, what's your view on people who change their names for commercial purposes? Because maybe people are trying to also to have a following on social media. Maybe that's why they're changing their names.
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, they want something that sounds better. You know, they want something that sounds better, but sometimes it doesn't play out well because commercial, you're not going to be there forever.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to, someone shared a video in a group that we belong to some days back, and I watched the video from, and then I could hear this man saying he had been to the dead birds of around 3,000 or more persons in his lifetime. And each dead person among all the 3,000 asked for one thing. I want to meet my family. I want to talk to my loved ones. You see? So you would not be at the commercials for a lifetime. It's a season. It will just pass on. And when it passes on, there is something that's important. And that's your loved ones. And who are these loved ones? Your family, right? And pray that the moment you change your name, you do not create this disconnect between you and your family, because you're going to die a lonely person.
Yeah.
You know, if you create that, there's something that fame does to people. Well, you know, when you're so famous, you begin to act up. You're no longer taking calls from your loved ones. You're not responding to messages from your family, you know, and all of that. Then you have this disconnect. You think that these people who come to you to take pictures on social media, you think they're loved ones. You host an event and 500,000 persons attend and you're so excited.
Yeah.
But at the long run, when you fall sick, when things begin to happen, when age happens to you, when life happens to you, then you begin to look out for family.
Okay, but okay, there's another thing that I want to ask. What about one?
Yeah.
Changing your name or your surname on religious grounds. Cassius Clay, for example, Cassius Clay, the famous boxer, changed his name to Muhammad Ali because he converted to Islam.
To Islam, yeah.
And then just building on that, some people, like, they change their names because the name has a negative story behind it.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you this, for surnames, some of the surnames in my country, they were nicknames. And some of these nicknames, when they started off, maybe people were making fun or mocking the original person who was given that nickname. And because it's a legal hurdle to change the name, they just kept it. But when you listen to the history, maybe this person was given this nickname and the white man said, we'll register it, here's your family name. And then it just stuck with their family.
Yeah.
But it's negative. Maybe he was really poor, and maybe the meaning of that word in my native language, maybe it's poverty or extreme poverty. That's the meaning of the family name. And then someone decides, I think I should change the surname because that's not who we are. What are your views on those two scenarios we talked?
Extreme poverty.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, if someone decides to,
under those circumstances,
I don't actually believe that the name that you bear
is a reflection of
who you are.
Yeah.
I personally,
I
don't believe that the name is a reflection of who you are. You could actually bear a name and be a different person inside of you.
Yeah.
You know, so it's the character that matters.
Yeah.
And for religion, someone who changes his name because of religion, I think I come from that school of thought.
Yeah.
My parents didn't give me an English name. My parents gave me my name, Olomati.
Okay.
You know, but then my mom, when I wanted an English name, influenced by my classmates in school, in primary school.
Okay.
And I told my mom, I think I want an English name, because why didn't you give me an English name? And then my mom, I think she said, I'm not so sure, but I remember she said, because when children grow up, they would, some of them would say, I don't like the names my parents gave to me, especially the English side of it. So I would want you to grow up and make a choice of an English name. That's what she told me. So we went to a camp meeting, and the pastor who came preached a sermon, and the story was the story of David. I loved the story so much. So we came back from camp meeting, and I told my mommy, my English name is David.
That's an interesting aspect, because when you look at it, just putting the spiritual side part aside, there's a psychological aspect to it, right? The name made you feel good. So imagine if your surname has negative connotations behind it, behind the story, and you really know it, and it weighs down on your self-confidence, and it weighs down on your self-esteem. In school, and they're calling out a Rocco, it's sort of like a reminder. Like, for example, if it's extreme poverty, your name is called out, Michael Extreme Poverty. And it's a reminder that you are nothing,
that you are an extreme poverty.
So would you phone someone and then say, I don't want my kids to be reminded of this?
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't fault anyone who does that. Seriously. Because you can bear such names. And seriously, there are people bearing those names. You know, I wouldn't want to fault anyone for that. And so sometimes, like you said, those names were not decided by them.
Exactly.
You know, some of the mean, the slave masters did that.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is what you are. You have red eyes, and your son has red eyes.
Yeah.
We'll call you Red Eyes. Let's register this name.
Or Devilish Eyes.
Or Devilish Eyes. Yeah, I think you're from the devil. Let's call it that. And then they tell you it's this is who you are.
Yeah.
And you believe.
Yeah, and whenever your name is called out, it's a reminder.
It's a reminder of this.
This is who you are. So it's sort of like someone is telling you over and over and over again. But I think it's a great thing if you're able to come out of that psychology with that name. That's a great victory.
Yeah, if you can.
But not everyone can, and maybe I don't know the reason our brother wants to change his name. I don't know if that's the reason, but maybe he's thinking, okay, maybe I was able to come out of that, and psychologically I'm okay, but I'm not confident that my kids will be able to bear that.
To bear that name. Yeah. It could be.
It's one angle, but I think the most important thing is once you decide to replace that system, you still have to have that, because there are still dangers of losing
your identity
and your identity and your roots and your understanding. Because I think as much as we're individuals, we also need to understand where we're coming from, because there are many lessons to be learned from our lineage.
And even if you succeed in changing your name, don't succeed in disconnecting from your family. You know, don't even try disconnecting from family, because at the long run, family is all you're going to need. Family is all you're going to need. So if you can keep your name, do keep your name. It's important. It identifies you. But if for all of the reasons we have talked about and more, you think I want to change my name, do well not to disconnect with your family. Stay connected with family. That's what matters. The name keeps you in the family. If you change it, you have already distanced yourself from the family. So you need to do more to come closer to keep to your family. That's it for today. It's a wrap on the surname thing. We would have a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, this was great. Yeah. Too short, actually. Too short. Be interesting to hear what you guys think.
Yeah. Make your comments, as you did before. Text me directly if you want us to talk more, or if there are few things you disagree with, we can, talk a lot more about it. And if you want to be with us, join us, talk about this, you are welcomed to join our podcast. Thank you guys. See you again in the next episode.
Thanks.
Bye.